Hi there, I'm Kathy Barker from Software Solutions. I've been asked what are my top tips, just quick ones, my top tips in Excel. Okay, so I thought I'd do a quick video and just say these are the things I like. Let me first of all just pull up Excel here, and I'm just going to hold the control key and wheel forward just so you can see clearly what I'm up to. First thing I'd say is superscript. Some of the symbols that are used frequently. My top tip would be if I had 360 degrees, I would hold the Alt key, and on the number pad, and I stress the number pad, I'd type 0176. When I let go of the Alt key, I get degrees. That's a tip. To the right of that, I might go 100M, and then I need squared. So I hold the Alt and I go 0178 on my number pad and I get squared. And if I want 160 meters cubed, Alt 0179. So those are three of my favorite keys. Alt 0176, Alt 0178. Let me type that in here. Alt 0176 for degrees, Alt 0178 for squared, and I fill that to the right. Oh no, that didn't work. If I fill that to the right, then Alt 0179 for cubed. Now some of you may be wondering, where did you get those keys from? If I hit the search button down here, or if I press Windows S for search and I type CHR, that brings up a little app called the Character Map. And the Character Map is a Windows utility or app that's been around for donkeys. And if I was to change the font from Webdings to the very, very top option, which is Arial, then if I have a look around here, here is my degrees. And notice down here, Alt 0176. And if I look to the right, then I see my squared, Alt 0178. And to the right of that, Alt 0179. So if you are a person who's using certain symbols on a regular basis, they will be massive time savers. If you're not a person who's using them on a regular basis, you won't remember them and they won't be time savers. But for me, I'm always using degrees, squared, and cubed. So they're really handy. Okay, so what else do I like? I like function keys in Excel. Some of my favorite ones, for example, are F1 for help. So that fires up on the help on the right hand side, and then I can type what I want to get help on. F2 is edit. So if I want to edit this, F2 and then type rotation. So F2 is edit what's in a cell, which is really handy. F4 is apply dollars. So if I've got number here and a number here, and I want to add those two together, equals that plus that. If I want to lock in the D5, I press the function key F4. That applies dollars to both the D and the 5. If I press F4 again, it applies it just to the 5. So I've locked in just the row. Now I've locked in just the column. Now I've locked in neither. And if I press it again, I've locked in both. So F4 rotates between lock in the column and the row, lock in just the row, lock in just the column, lock in neither. So why would you do that? That's when you want to perhaps have a formula that is looking at always D5. So this formula here, for example, is grabbing the next number and adding it to D5. Grabbing the next number, adding it to D5. So what happens is the C5 has changed to C6, C7, C8, but the D5 has not changed because of the dollars. So F4 is a quick way to apply dollars. Another one that I like is F7, spell check. If you've got any spelling mistakes, it will draw those to your attention. And I don't. And the another one I like, if I just put some names here, so Karen, Matt, Paul, Peter, Tom, Beth, Tim, Harold, and Kathy, is F11. F11 is great if you select data, maybe these are names and maybe these are hours. And if I select this data and press F11, then it automatically makes a chart. And so that's another one of my favorite keys is F11 to create a chart. And the last function key that I really like is F12. F12 is save as. Immediately brings up the save as window, which is a lot quicker than going file, save as, browse, and all the faffing that goes around with that. So when you want to save, F12. So those are a few of my favorite function keys. But not all of us are function key people, and so we want buttons, but we want quick access to those buttons to make it quick and easy to do things. Well, up here in the top left of your Excel screen is what they call the quick access toolbar, and it's got things that we use regularly and gives us quick access to those things such as save, such as undo. But there's so much more than these. You can hit this drop down and say, well, look, I'd like quick access to the new button. And now I can quickly create a new document just by clicking on this button. But I might also want quick access to the open. So I can quickly open a file I was working on yesterday. I might also want quick access to email. So if someone says to me, can you email me that file? It's one click and it automatically opens up a new mail message with that file attached. The subject reflects the file name and I just say who I want to send it to. So it's giving me quick access to things I use on a regular basis. I might want quick access to print preview. Maybe I can't remember that F7 is the spell check. So I want a button instead that gives me quick access to the spell check. And that's what that does. Also, I want to be able to sort quickly, sort in ascending order or sort in descending order. So I add those buttons. But when I want to sort by more than one column, then I might go to data and I might choose this button. And so I've got quick access to it. I'll right click it and I'll add it to my quick access toolbar. And I've added a button. If I filter a lot, I can right-click the filter button and add it to my quick access toolbar, as well as the clear button and add that to my quick access toolbar. So you can add things to your quick access toolbar that you use on a regular basis so you have quick access to them. But what if I want something like save as? If I go into file and I right click save as, I can't add it to my quick access toolbar, which is a little bit annoying because I use that regularly. And maybe F12 is just a bit too tricky for me to remember. In that situation, I would go into customize the quick access toolbar, I'd go into more commands, and I would look for the save as command in this left panel. And there it is there. And I would literally double click that and add that to my quick access toolbar. But once this starts getting busy, you really need to organize stuff. So I'm going to click on save as and use this button to move it up and pop it up under save. So now I've got autosave, save and save as, and then I go OK. And so you can customize your quick access toolbar so that you have quick access to stuff that you use on a regular basis. And no, you don't have to do that every time you log out and log in. Once you've done that, it's done and it stays like that, which is great. The other thing I'd share with you is customize the status bar. That's another trick I'd offer. At the bottom of your screen, there is this panel that has the word ready. That is the status at the moment. It is ready for me. It also has these zoom controls in the bottom right hand corner, but I prefer to hold the control key and wheel forward and wheel backwards to zoom in and zoom out because that works in every single situation. Whereas not in every single situation are you provided with these buttons here. But anyway, so this is called the status bar, and if you right click it, you can turn stuff on and off. And I'm saying turn everything on, particularly these ones. So let me show you how these work. If I was to hold the Alt and press Tab, I'll be able to jump back to my earlier file. If I was to go back to sheet 1, which had all that data in it, If I want to know what the total of these cells are, I simply select them and I look down here. The average is 75. There are 10 things and 10 numbers. The smallest or minimum number is 30. The maximum or largest number is 120. And they add up to 750. So you don't have to put a formula in. You can literally select a group of cells and just look down here to check what the answer is. Now, in some versions of Office, when you rest on, say, the sum, you get in brackets copy to clipboard, which means that if you click that, you've actually copied that answer to the clipboard, which means I can go here and I can go paste and paste that answer in. Not a formula, but the answer. So if I've got an email, for example, and someone says to me, well, how much have we got so far? I simply highlight this range of cells. It tells me 1320. I click it to take a copy of it. I might go to an email, a new email, and when I right click and I paste, it simply pastes that answer into the email. So I don't have to remember it, and I don't necessarily enter it with dyslexia or some sort of incorrect value. Okay. So the status bar, definitely worth having a look at, and definitely worth right-clicking and ensuring that everything is ticked. Now, the other thing I want to show you is a couple of shortcuts. So, for example, if I'm a person who works with dates a lot, I use Control semicolon. If I want today's date, then the key combination you press is that. So if I press that, I get today's date. And if I press Control colon, not semicolon, I get the current time. So Control Shift to get the time. So those are a couple of handy date and time shortcuts. But if you need a date that actually changes, like that 9th of the 11th won't change. But if I put equals today, there's a function called today, and that will change. This one will stay still. This one will alter as the system clock alters. The same with another function called equals now. If I choose equals now gives me the current date and time. So as I work with the spreadsheet, that time will update as the system clock updates, and if I open it tomorrow, that date will update. So there's a couple of date and time shortcuts. Now, as far as moving around a spreadsheet, it's important to know Control Home, the key combination, will always take you to the top. And if you're in a list, such as these names, Control Down arrow always takes you to the bottom of the list. Control Up arrow always takes you to the top of the list. If I go Control Right arrow, I'll always go to the right edge. And if I go Control Left arrow, I go the left edge. So if you work with large lists, those Control arrow keys are really handy. If you end up going Control Down arrow one too many times, you'll end up in the weeds in row 1,048,576, in which case Control Up arrow and Control Up arrow until you get back to somewhere more local. So they're handy as well. Other shortcut keys that I love, or tips that I have in Excel, is inserting rows and columns. So if I need to put, say, 5 people under Peter, then I would literally click on row 10. Not on the cell A10, but on the row 10. So that means you've got to get out to the left-hand side. Control plus and use the plus on your number pad, because then you don't have to hold the shift key. Control plus is insert. Control minus is delete. So much easier to insert rows and delete rows using Control plus and Control minus. If I was to click on a column such as C and press Control plus, I'll be inserting columns, and Control minus, I'll be taking away columns. So super handy keys. Now, some tricks regarding the Enter key. Everybody underestimates the Enter key. Now the Enter key typically, let me just insert a new sheet with this little circle here, and let me just zoom in a little bit. The Enter key by itself goes down. I just need to fix mine. I've actually turned my Enter key off, so that's another aspect. If I go to File and I go to Options, if you click on Advanced, you can control your Enter key. Now, most of you will have this ticked, and that is after pressing Enter, it moves down. Some people will make it when they press Enter, it moves up. When they press Enter, it moves to the right. But by default, when you press Enter, it goes down. I typically have mine turned off. But I'll put it back onto the default and I'll go OK. So now when I press Enter, it goes down. And when I go Shift Enter, it goes up. So Enter, oops, let me type that in capitals because it's a key. Enter goes down. Shift Enter goes up. And let me double click to widen the column width. What about Alt Enter? Alt Enter gives you more than one line in a cell, i.e. wrap text. So what does that mean? If I was to go here and type sales, Alt Enter, figures, Alt Enter 4, Alt Enter 2022, I've entered 4 lines of text in that one cell. Doesn't matter how wide you make that cell or how narrow, it will always be on 4 lines of text. So if you have a cell where you want to write a large piece of text, a sentence or a paragraph, you can't press Enter because it goes down. But if you press Alt Enter, you'll get a carriage return or a new line in that cell. And it actually behaves better than the wrap text button because it will always be on 4 lines. Whereas if you don't use Alt Enter, sales figures for 2022, if you use the wrap text feature up here, then it decides I'll fit it on 3 lines, I'll fit it on 2 lines, I'll fit it on 1 line. Whereas this one, if you resize this column, it's always on 4 lines. And I prefer that. Okay. The last one I want to show you is Control Enter. Control Enter fills in all the selected cells with what you just typed. So let me just zoom out. If I select all of these cells, it's going to fill in all these cells. I'm just holding the control key. The control key lets me choose the cells I want to fill in. And I want to fill them all in with Kathy. So I type Kathy and I don't press Enter because Enter goes down. I press Control Enter and it fills all the selected cells with what I just typed. If I want 0, Control Enter, it fills it all. Saves me typing 0, filling it down, 0, fill it down, 0, fill it across, 0, fill it down. You just select all your cells, type what you want like 0 and press Control Enter and I'll just delete those. And so the Enter key, there's a bit to it that people don't realise, and those are some of the things I like. Okay. The next thing I want to share with you is probably some tricks to do with sheets. If I want to make a duplicate of a sheet, let me go to sheet 1. Quickest way is hold the control key and drag sheet 1 and let go and then release the mouse. Control drag just made a duplicate of sheet 1. So if you can imagine, if I had like a schedule or a roster and I'm saying who the manager is and what the site is and what the project is and who the employees are and what week it is, and I need potentially 4 weeks in any given month, and I set this all up and I make it look all great, and I really want people to just fill in exactly how many hours they did each week on that site and on that project. So I've got this all set up, and then I think, right, everybody's happy with that. That's my sheet for, say, January. Now I need a sheet for February, March, April, May. Then I just control pull February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, oops, not that one, delete, November, December. Then I just name this one December. This one here, November. And I've basically created, just by holding the control key and dragging, I've created 12 duplicates without having to copy and paste, and none of the column widths go across. Instead, I just control drag and duplicate. Nearly there. June, May, April, March, oops. And if I go back this way, there's my February. Another little trick when you get a lot of sheets in a file, these two triangles in the lower corner here, if you right click them, it actually gives you a list of all the sheets in this file. And if you've got a lot of them, it's a quick way to just jump straight to November, or right click and go straight to January. So that's another little trick moving between the sheets. Hold the control key, drag the sheet, and you'll be able to duplicate the sheet. Another little trick is being able to select all the sheets. Just right click and select all sheets, because you want to make a change to all of those sheets, or you want to set up the landscape A3 fit to one page sort of settings for all the sheets. Don't do them individually. If I don't want to select all of them, I'll just click to make it go away. I'll click January and then shift click December, and everything between January and December is selected. Then if I want to make a change, such as make these bold, maybe merge these cells and merge these cells, F4 is repeat my last action. Repeat my last action. Put a bottom border on that cell. Click on this one, F4, click on this one, F4, and that didn't seem to work, so I'm going to put it on again, a bottom border and a bottom border. Maybe put a top border there. So each one of those is now, and maybe make them have a little bit of a background color. So now, because I had all of those sheets selected, that's occurred to all of them. February, March, April, May. They've all got that change. So if you need to make a change that's common to all sheets or common to specific sheets, then select more than one and make that change. Something else that I'd like to share with you is revealing formulas. I'm going to go back to an earlier sheet where we did some formulas. I'll just wheel back a bit. Control tilde. Now tilde is the name of this key, and it's not called squiggle, and it's below the escape key. If you hold the control key and hit the key below escape, you will show your formulas. And I can see my formulas here, and I can see my formulas such as now and today over there. If I press Control tilde, I turn it off and I turn it on. Control tilde is a way of showing and hiding your formulas. If you felt that you wouldn't remember that key combination, then it is actually a button on your Formulas tab in the ribbon called Show Formulas. And what you could do is right click it and add it to your quick access toolbar. Then you wouldn't have to remember it was under formulas. You would have easy quick access to that button whenever you needed to show or hide the formulas. Now when you show the formulas, the other thing is when you go Control P to print preview, you'll actually find, if I fit it on one page and make it landscape, you'll actually find that it will print your formulas. So it's not just for visually seeing your formulas, it's for printing your formulas as well. And I'll go out of there and turn off Control tilde or the button to turn off my formulas. You know if your show formulas is on because your columns are exceptionally wide, and then they narrow when you turn it off. If you ever encounter this, a series of hash signs, that simply means that your column's not wide enough for Excel to show you what's in that cell. So double click the line between I and J. Do not drag, that is seriously not cool. Double click to widen the column and double click to widen the column. Do not drag. And double click here also to widen the column. Okay, so revealing your formulas, done. Best fit, done. Sometimes when you go to type in a cell, Excel thinks it's being helpful and it formats what you type to either a date or some sort of number. So for example, if I want to show equals bracket 100 close bracket, as soon as I press enter, it just shows 100, and that's not what I wanted. So it's really annoying when it goes and changes something to a number, or I go and type this, wanting 3/4, and as soon as I press enter, it goes 3rd of April. It converts it to a number or to a date. If you want it to be text, because data comes down to either being a number, a date, or text, then put a single quote or an apostrophe in front of it. Single quote equals bracket 100 bracket is your way of saying to Excel, this is not a number, this is text. It doesn't show the single quote, it hangs to the left of the cell just as normal text does, and it doesn't change it. Same with 3/4. Single quote, 3/4, doesn't show the single quote, hangs to the left hand side, thinks it's text, and doesn't change it to a date. So always put a single quote in front of something that you don't want it to change and to treat it as text. And then lastly, just some keys for filling formulas. For example, if I go to this January sheet and I put some numbers in here that these people have spent on these different projects, and I'm just putting random numbers in here. All right. What I want to do here is I want to add up the numbers. Now I need to fill all the blanks with zeros. So I'm going to highlight this range here. I'm going to press Control G, which is short for Go To. From the Go To window, I'm going to click Special because I want to go to the blanks and OK. So that goes to all the blank cells in that area that I chose. Then I press 0 and not enter because that goes down, but Control Enter because that fills in all the cells. Now I want to add up week 1. The key combination I want to use to sum is Alt equals equals, and that automatically sums all the values. Let me delete that and do that again. Alt equals does that, and another equals accepts it, or enter. Alt equals and enter would do it as well. But now I want to fill that to the right, and a lot of us know we can pull this little thin black cross and fill it to the right, but sometimes undo. When you've got to go some distance to the right, it's actually quite tricky to use your mouse. So I'm going to go Shift right arrow to select the cells I want to populate, and Control R is what you use to fill to the right. Same here. If I want to add up, say this is, say, Peter or something or other, and I want to add up the hours that Peter has done across those 5 weeks, I'll go Alt equals and enter. Now I want to fill that down, and I know I could drag or double click the thin black cross. But if I don't want to use my mouse, I could go Shift down arrow to the point I want to populate to, and then Control D. Control D is fill down, Control R is fill to the right. Really, really handy shortcuts. And if I want to select all the data, Control A, that selects all the data I'm sitting in, because maybe I want to make all of it bold and maybe all of it centered. So Control A is very handy. Also the Format Painter. If I want to paint this look onto these cells and these cells, I'll click on this, double click my Format Painter, because it says at the bottom, FYI, to apply formatting to multiple places, double click the Format Painter, brush it over these cells here, brush it over these cells here, and then they have the same consistent look, and then turn off the Format Painter. Really handy. Last thing I'd want to do is possibly filter. If I want to filter a list, let me just put the word total here. If I want to filter the list, maybe I'm looking for all the zeros in week 4. I will click somewhere in this list here and press Control Shift L. Control Shift L is a quick way to turn on and turn off the filter if you're sitting in a list. And now I can hit the drop down and say, look, I don't want all of them, I just want all the zeros, and okay. So those were the people who did 0 hours in week 4. And then I can easily clear that by going Control Shift L. What if I want to know the names of the people? Imagine these were people, 1, 2, I'm just going to put some numbers in here. Maybe they're employee IDs. So I want to know what people did 0 hours in week 5. Control Shift L, hit the drop down on week 5. I don't want all of them, I just want the zeros, and okay. So those are the people who did 0 hours in week 5. Things like that. So if you're into filtering, Control Shift L and turn it off as well. I hope you enjoyed that little sort of like rendezvous with Excel and some of the shortcuts that I really like in Excel. I will put a little tips sheet in the posting of this video, and I do hope you enjoy. My name is Kathy Barker, and I'm from Software Solutions.